Hi guys, good afternoon. Please confirm you can hear me. Okay, welcome to today's class where we're going to be talking about user stories. But before we go into the topic for today, you know how we do it. So, one emoji to describe how your weekend went so far. Today is Monday, so how's your weekend? Can you use an emoji to describe how your weekend went? I'm seeing a lot of mixed emotions. I hope we're all fine though. And you're actually making progress, because one of the most important things is that you do not remain the same. Okay, you cannot finish KodeCamp the same way you started. Okay, there are a lot of things that you have to unlearn and relearn. All right, so the next thing is mention or type out one thing that you learned from the last class. One thing that you learned from the last class. Do we have volunteers who want to speak up? You don't have volunteers, you can use the chat box to type out one thing you learned from the last class. The last class we talked about UI design. Yeah, we went into UI design. We talked about typography, colors, and we talked about buttons too. So I'm sure you guys learned a lot from the last class. So I want to see answers. T-Ben says he learned color theory from Isaac Newton in 1666. Do we have any more answers? Chukwudi Jonah says he learned lo-fi prototyping. Ken Joshua is saying that he learns the importance of typography when passing across information, the importance of color psychology and how it affects emotions. Khalid says he played around with colors and learned more what each meant, how colors represent different types of brands. And Irayo says the different button elements. Khalid said he also worked on lo-fi prototype. All right, thank you very much for your answers. I am really glad that you have been learning from these classes. Okay, we're not just here to talk and go back to our normal lives. Okay, thank you very much for your answers. So what are we going to be learning today? We're going to talk about user stories. What do they mean? Okay, I don't know, maybe some people have heard what user stories are, but they don't actually know what they mean. We're going to be talking about how to write user stories. You're going to see a few user story examples, and then we're going to dive right into Figma, where I'm going to show you how to design product interfaces using user stories or crafting these product interfaces from user stories. So let's get started. So we've talked about a user. We know who a user is. Anybody who interacts with a product, a digital product. It could be an application or a website. So we can as well say that we're all users, as long as we've made use of any website or any application. I know a lot of us here are above 18, so we have bank accounts. And that also means that we have some bank applications on our phones. So we've actually maybe made a transaction. I like using that case study because it's something that all of us relate with, right? So we've either used Access Bank or UBA bank applications to either make transfer, check our bank balance, send it to people that we want to bill, and so on and so forth. And we know what the product here is. A digital product could be a website or an application or any software at all. So we're going to be diving into user stories. What are user stories? User stories are short written explanations of a particular user's needs and how it can be fulfilled, right? So in simple terms, I like to think that user stories are stated ideas or requirements that tends to express what a user needs. Now, user stories are very simple. You're going to learn that in today's class. They are brief with each element often containing fewer than, let's say, 10 to 15 words, each of them. And user stories to me are like to-do lists that helps me to determine the path along the project path. And you're going to learn about that in today's class. So user stories here follow a simple template, and the most common format for framing a user story is as a, still want in brackets, as a user, right? I want to, we now have the goal or the action, okay, whatever that person wants to perform, okay, and then we have so that, you now give the reason, which can also be known as the benefits or the outcome. Okay, so as a user, I want to, that's the goal or action, and then the outcome or reason. So we're going to be talking about these things that are in brackets: user, the goal, and the outcome. So first of all, we're going to talk about the user. So the user story should clearly identify the user or user group for whom the story is being written. Okay. Now, who is the user? The user represents the person or any entity at all who would interact with the product. Okay, so that's why I said it at the beginning of this class that we're all users. Why? Because we've made use of one product or the other. Okay, as long as we interact with a product, we're users, right? So a user here represents anybody that interacts with a product. So what you want to do when you're identifying the user is to be as specific as possible. Okay, when deciding the role. That's what we have here, the user. Now, I have a very short example here. The user here in this example is a frequent online shopper. I'm sure you can see your screen. So as a frequent online shopper, that's the user. I want to, what's the action now? To easily filter search results by price range. That is the action or the goal of the user. Remember what I said, I think I've mentioned in one of these classes that every user has a goal. Okay, it doesn't matter what the product wants to do, whatever the product wants to do, actually have a goal for coming on this platform, right? For the banking application that we keep using as a case study, I can say that I have a goal. My goal could differ from yours, or we could be in like, we could have the same goals, right? My goal could be to come on this banking platform and make transactions, right? I am a business person. So I give out my account number, somebody sends money, I can as well transfer some money to whoever I want to purchase my goods from. Do you understand? So all of us, we have certain goals, okay? Which can also be known as the actions that the user wants to take on the platform or the products. Now, what's the outcome? I'm going to take this again. As a frequent online shopper, remember we talked about that as a user, that's the user, right? I want to easily filter search results by price. That's the action or the goal. Now, what's the reason? So that I can find affordable products within my budget. That's the reason. The benefits or the outcome. I like to see them like that, the benefits. Okay, so we're going to take that again. As a frequent online shopper, I want to easily filter search result by price range so that I can find affordable products within my budget. So when this user is able to filter, okay, the search result by price range, you can see the ones that fit into your budget. Okay, for example, you go on an e-commerce website and okay, maybe you want to buy a furniture, for instance, maybe a table, a workspace table. So you have the filter option. With that, you can see the prices within 20 to 50K, if that's your budget, from 50 to 100K. That's the whole essence. So this is an example of a user story. And we've actually, and in this example, we've actually identified the user, the action, and the outcome. So using our case study, we can as well say, as a user, I want to see my recent transactions so that I can be able to track my spending. I think that makes sense. Okay, so that you know that if I come back and I open this what's it called, my bank app, I'm seeing there, I will not have high BP. Okay, I'm going to see the transactions. I'll know where my money has gone into, or who I sent money to, and how much I received. Okay, so that's about the user. Now the next one is the goal, which can also be referred as the action. Okay, this represents the user's expectation, the expectations, the goals of the user that can be accomplished through interacting with these products. Okay, and also the goals should be unique to each user story. Now, what we have here, a well-crafted user story should describe the action or a task that a user intends to complete, with clear goals in mind and a focus on meeting these demands. Now, here's an example. Remember we said we're going to talk about the user. We already talked about the user in the previous page. As a user, the user here is who? A new student. As a new student, I want to easily navigate through the course catalog. That's the action. This is the goal. This is why I actually came on this platform. I want to be able to do what? Navigate through the course catalog, so that, now this is the reason, I can explore available courses and make informed decisions about my academic path, right? As a new student, I want to do what? Easily navigate through the course catalog so that I can explore available courses and make informed decisions about my academic path. So this is it about the goal. Remember we talked about the user, and then we talked about the goal. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is what? The benefits or the outcome. So the benefits here is like, I like to call it or see it as the added value. Okay, the added value that a user gets from the action. Now, user stories must clearly outline the desired result or values that a user hopes to attain by performing a particular action. Okay, this aspect helps highlight user motivation while setting clear design objectives. That's the outcome, the desired results. What do I want to see, or why do I want this thing to be made available? Right? Why do I want to be able to do this particular thing on an application or a website? That's the outcome. Now, here's an example. As a fitness enthusiast, that's the user, I want to track my daily step counts and set personal goals. Why? Why do I want to do this? What's the reason? In order to do what? To stay motivated and monitor my progress towards a healthier lifestyle. That's the outcome. That's the reason. That's the benefits. So with this, I'm sure you know how to craft out a user story now. First of all, what do you want to do? You want to identify the user, the goal or the action, and then the outcome. That's the expo to writing a good user story. Okay, this is like the format for writing out a user story. So now that we know what user stories are, I'm going to be showing you guys how to write them. So how do you write user stories? Now, also, this will be part of your task because I mean you've had enough break. Okay, so this week we're going to be giving out promotional tasks. So if you know that okay, you're still lacking behind, try to speak up where you need to. If you need help, speak up about that too, so that you can you're not going to be left behind, right? If you're still on the first stage, second stage, a lot of people, I think a lot of people are going up in stage 2. Yes, so if you're still lacking behind, try as much as you can to finish up your task and get graded so that you can move to the next stage. So one of the tasks that I'm going to give out today is what we call the 3 C's. The 3 C's, like C, letter C, the 3 C's of user stories. I need you guys to read on that and also summarize it. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to telling you guys how to write user stories now. Now, user stories follow a simple template. The chosen user story format will outline the who, the what, and why of a particular requirement. Okay, so for each story, the writer will include a role. The UX writer, that is you. You include the role, the action that they wish to take, or the ability that they wish to have. That's what we said as a user, I want to be able to do this. This is what I wish, this is the action that I wish, okay, to have, or the ability that I wish to have rather, or the action that I wish to take. So you want to identify the role, the action, and the benefits. Okay, the hope to achieve a particular result. So like I said, this is a format. The formats that I gave earlier that I said to identify the user, the goal, and what the outcome. So this format is going to help you outline who, what, and why of a particular requirement. So the first thing is who. Who wants something? Okay. Who wants something? Is it a student? Is it a business owner? It actually depends on whatever product idea you're working on rather at a particular point. Now, after we've identified we outlined the who, we now have the what. What do they want? What's that action that they wish to perform? What's that thing that they wish to do? After that, we have what? The why. Why do they want it? What's the reason? Okay, so the first thing you want to do when writing a user story is to start with a persona. The first thing you want to do is create a user persona. Okay. Now, you may be wondering what user personas are. This is part of the define stage actually. And we ran this thing step by step. We started with what's the empathy stage, where you interviewed a few participants, and I really hope that everyone actually did that. Okay, having the courage to ask people questions, speak up, and get their opinions to really help you if you want to go into UI UX design. Okay, so after you've gone through the empathy stage, the define stage is where you get to create your empathy map. Okay, where you get to categorize whatever you got from your interview, the information you got from your interview or your user research. Then you categorize them into thoughts, felt, did, and what's the other one? Said, right? After you've done this, you're going to take all of this. This is what you're going to use to create your user persona. Okay, so now, what are user personas? For me, I like to think that user personas are, or should I say a persona is a profile that represents my target audience or a user. Okay, so I could have a user persona for, let me call a random person here, Ugoma, for instance. let's say that I conducted a user interview with Ugoma. I could have a user persona. I could design a user persona for Ugoma where I get to put out her name. I'm going to write a short bio about her. That's why I said it is important that you get to find out more about your interview participants. So if Ugoma told me she's 25 and she's a single mother, I'm going to write all of those into the bio. That is if it actually corresponds with the project I'm working on. Let me give you an example. We could have what example do I give? So I remember saying Ugoma here is a single mother. So we could have something like maybe a food ordering application. Okay. So as a single mom, she has to work full time. So she barely has time to cook for her child. So maybe she orders takeout, right, for her child. So this actually fits into the product idea, right? So I get to write out a bio for Ugoma, setting out these things, also pointing out the goals or the needs. Remember we talked about user needs and expectations. So we get to put out the goals and our frustrations to pain points. Okay, so that's what a user persona is basically all about. But let me still go ahead and explain it. So personas here, just like you can see on your screen, are fictional characters. Should I say semi-fictional? Because most of the times they are based on real life data, okay, which you create based on your research in order to represent the different user types that might use your service, product, site, or brand in a similar way. Okay, these are personas, like I said, that are based on real life data and reflect the wants and needs of your target audience. They're actually very important because what they do is they help to make designers to make informed product decisions and also to empathize with user experiences and needs that we got as a result of the user research. Now, this is an example of a user persona. I like you to look at this diagram very well. This is an example of a user persona. Okay. So what first thing you're going to have is what the name. You're going to have the name. So take a good look at the diagram or at this design because this is going to form part of your task too. Okay, what you want to put in place is the image of what's it called, your participants, right? But you should also know that most of the time your participants may want to appear anonymous. So you could use a random photo. That's what we said at first. I said semi-fictional. So the person might not want you to put out his or her name or his or her photo, right? So that's when you can now play around and use a different photo or a different name. But as long as the rest of the information on your persona is actually correct and it's based on real life data. So for today's example of user persona, we have Alok here, who is 24 and he is an IT professional. He's single and lives alone. Okay, all of these, we got them from the research. Okay, we got them from the interview that we did with this guy in question. So here we have a short bio about him. Alok works in a multinational tech company and lives in a rented apartment in a big city. As an employee in a fast-paced industry, he works in a highly competitive environment and requires to work overtime often. He does not get time to cook his food and relies on ordering food online. You can see that this bio is going somewhere. It's actually related. So you don't make the mistake of trying to put out a bio for your participant and you're writing out things that are not really necessary, like let me, whose name am I even going to use? Let me pick a random name here. Edidion Elijah, for instance. Edidion Elijah is 35. She recently got married and is divorced because her husband used to beat her up. Like, all of those are not necessary. That's why I pointed out in the last class that I saw a lot of, a lot of questions on the interview scripts that does not actually make sense. I saw questions like, are you married? How long have you been married for? What do you want to use that information for? It's not necessary, considering what we're doing this research for. Okay, so you need to ask questions that align with the products we have at hand, the product idea we have at hand, what we're doing the research for, so they don't go out of course. Before you know, you're already gisting about the person's marriage. So he used to hit you. When you actually wanted to do conduct an interview for a particular thing. So that's why we said that an interview script rather is very important, because it keeps you in line. When you have all these questions written out, you cannot go off course. I mean, some important questions may come in that will not part of your interview script. But what the interview script does is set out a layout for you to follow, right? So where did I stop in the bio? He does not get time to cook his food and relies on ordering food online. He is open to trying out new restaurants and wants the ordering process to be quick and easy. So already stated that this guy is working in a tech company. You know that we techies, we barely have time to do anything. Okay. So what he does is he relies on ordering food. He does a lot of, he doesn't have time to cook his own meals. So what he does is he relies on ordering food online. That's a lot of food online, right? So this is a bio and it matches what we're actually doing the research for. Now, once you've written out the bio for whoever your participant is, the next thing you want to do is to write out his goals. And this is also gotten from the interview or from your user research, which could have been quantitative or qualitative. Now, these are a few goals that Alok wants to accomplish. The first goal here is to order his meal as quickly as possible. And this could have been gotten from a statement that he made. Okay, that's why I said it's very important that you identify the say, do, feel, and think when you're working on you're creating your empathy map. So the goal here is to order his food as quickly as possible. Number 2, we have to easily edit an order before payment. So edit an order here could mean that, okay, I ordered for a plate of fried rice. I forgot to add protein. So I want to be able to edit it and maybe add protein, any protein like meat or fish before making my payment. The third thing here is to keep track of food delivery. Maybe Alok here is not a very patient person. Okay, I don't want to order food by 2 o'clock and 2:30 does not gotten to me, and there's no explanation as to why that is. So I need to be able to track my food delivery and know that, okay, I'm at a particular junction and the food driver or the delivery guy is maybe 30 minutes to my destination or 30 minutes to my location. And lastly, for the goals, we have this guy wants to easily view different varieties of food. So if I come on this application, because this is definitely a food ordering app, from what you even see in the bio and the goals, you can know that this is a food ordering application. Because he's saying here he wants to easily view different varieties of food. So that if I come on this application today and I cannot find white soup, I can now have other varieties, right? I can maybe take afang, for instance, or yam porridge, or whatever other thing looks good or is appealing to me. And these are the goals. And this guy also has frustrations, which we also know as pain points. Number 1 here we have lazy to repeat the ordering procedure because he needs to do it frequently. Lazy to repeat the ordering procedure because he needs to do it frequently. So maybe what the UI UX designer wants to do to help this guy is to create a shortcut for the ordering procedure. And also, maybe this guy can have a history page, so that even when I think I've seen an application that allows you to repeat. Okay, I think I've seen that on a bank app, yes, that allows you to repeat a transaction or repeat that process. Okay, so if you actually subscribed 500 naira, okay, to your MiFi or to a particular number, you can actually just go back and click on that history to do the same thing. Okay, I have some people saying here that Kuda does that. OPay, yeah, I think they do that actually. Thank you. So yes, that's what this guy wants. He's actually lazy to repeat ordering procedure. So what you can do is give him a shortcut. The essence of pointing out this frustration is so that we can fix them, right? Another example is the beneficiary. Thank you very much. So that every time on a bank application, I do not have to go and start putting out the person's name, account number, and all of those details. So that's the number one frustration. The second thing here is he frequently forgets to include an item, resulting in multiple orders. Now, can somebody tell me what that matches to? Because most of the time, the goals are in line with the frustrations. Okay, the goals are in line with the frustrations. So this guy is saying he frequently forgets to include an item, resulting in multiple orders. Now, can somebody identify one of the goals that matches this frustration from the goals that I listed out earlier? Anybody? We have 4 goals here. The second one, thank you very much, Francis. That's very smart. Yes, the second one, the option to do what? To edit an order before payments. Thank you very much, Ken Joshua, Patience, Tibet, and all the rest, and Gladys too. Thank you very much. So yes, he frequently forgets to include an item, right? Resulting in multiple orders. That's why he said he wants to be able to do what? To edit an order before payments. Number 3 of the frustrations we have, he gets unhappy whenever his favorite restaurant is closed or his favorite food is unavailable. Can somebody point out a goal that matches that? He's saying that he gets unhappy whenever his favorite restaurant is closed or his favorite food is unavailable. Do we have anybody, any answers? Nope, not the third one. Not the third one. The last one. Thank you very much, Kali. Thank you, Josephine, Joseph. The last one is the correct answer. The last one says he wants to easily do what? View varieties of food. That's why I mentioned that if Afang is not available, right, and maybe I have one special person that I used to order from, and that person is not available, I want to see other varieties. Who knows? I might actually get a second favorite. Okay, so that actually matches the last goal. Now, the last frustration here is no easy way to reach customer support to make complaints. There's no actually goal here that matches that, but yes, this is another frustration that he has. Now, this is coming from somebody that's actually made use of a food ordering application. Now, you can also have, that's why on the public transportation application, I saw that a lot of people were asking questions as if this public transport app is already out there. I think I left a few comments for some people where I asked them, what if this application does not exist? Okay, so you're able to ask questions that helps these two categories to go along for the people that have actually made use of this application and people that do not. Because what if this is a new idea, a fresh idea that nobody has ever thought of? There are some certain ways that you're going to write out your questions. Okay, because I saw that a lot of you were writing out your questions as though the application already exists. And honestly, I've not seen that kind of application. Okay. So for this guy, now we can have somebody that maybe says, I want to be able to do this. Now, these are the goals that this person has. Should this application, okay, exist? I know I've not used it before, but if I actually have to use this, these are the goals. These are the things I want to see. These are the things that will piss me off or make me frustrated if I eventually use this application. Okay. So we have the last one here, like I said, to be no easy way to reach customer support to make complaints. This is a frustration. And how do we fix that? By making customer support available. You could have a speed dial, okay, and maybe a number that people can call or an email address that people can write to in order to make complaints, or a chat box. Thank you very much, Tibet and Francis. I like that this class is interactive. Okay, so this is a user persona, like I said, and I'd like you to take note of this because you're going to do something like this for me. I mean, like I said, we're walking through the process one after the other. We've done the empathy stage. We've gone to the define where you actually you created your empathy map. So the next thing you want to do is to design a user persona for your interview participants. It could be one, it could be two. We're going to tell you that. Okay, give you the number of people to create this user persona for. So like I said, this is where you get to fit in their bio, write out their goals, identify their goals and frustrations. All right, so this is a short quote that was probably gotten. You can see that it's a quote. So it was probably gotten from what Alok said when he was being interviewed. So it says here, I want my food to be fresh, well packed, and delivered on time. Okay, so this is a summary of what a user persona is or what a user persona looks like. Okay, so also I'd like to point out that this is like an important part of the define stage because you need to have a solid understanding. You need to have a solid understanding of your user persona in order to craft meaningful user stories that actually speak to their needs, their goals, and their frustrations. Your user persona rather is like the foundation for the rest of the steps in this process. So what you have to do is make sure that it is accurate. You're not missing out any points. And it's also very compelling. So now that we know what user personas are, okay, we talked about that as being the step one. What is step two? Now for step two, we have convert the user persona goals into epics. Convert the user persona goals into epics. Now, what goals does your user want to accomplish? What you want to do is assess these goals and convert them into broad epics. Now, I'm going to explain what epics are. Epics are large stories. Okay, they're like extensions of user stories. They are large stories because you can get numerous user stories from epics. Do you understand? So epics are like large stories that can be broken down into many user stories. So take note of that. Those are what we call epics. They are large stories that can be broken down into user stories. I like to think of it as a larger user flow. User stories are like individual features that can be implemented, while epics are a series of user stories that need to occur in order for to reach a certain outcome, rather. So let me give you an example. Let me think of an example. We can have, whose name will I use here? Francis. We can have Francis wants to be able to buy a pair of indigo skinny jeans in size 32. Let me take that again. Francis wants to be able to buy a pair of indigo skinny jeans in size 32 and wants them to be delivered to his office because he's not home during the weekdays. Okay, so if you're looking at this now, you can see that a series of features will need to be implemented to achieve this. You're going to have a series of user stories. The first one could be that Francis here wants to be able to do what? To buy a pair of indigo jeans. For it to even speak out a color, That means that on this website, because this could actually be an e-commerce website, okay? On these websites, that you can actually pick out colors, so you can see variety of colors and also variety of sizes. That's a user story on its own. And also the ability for this jean that Francis got is the ability for it to be delivered to him. That's also a user story. So like I said, epics are large stories. That's why I made it as simple as possible. Large stories that can be broken down into smaller user stories or into many user stories. So that's why I said the second step here is what convert the user goals into what epics. Now, when that is done, what you want to do is categorize your persona. Okay, so when you've created maybe like 3 personas, you're going to discover that these personas are unique. Okay, so this persona could be for a mother, for a banker, a busy young adult, a techie like we had in the case of Alo, or even a new driver. So based on who your user is and what they are trying to accomplish, what different roles do they assume? Okay, what different roles do these people assume? A typical example could be, as a student, I want to see a list of courses so that I can have numerous options. Okay, now I've been able to, what I've done is I've categorized this persona into roles. Okay, as a student, as a young mother, sorry, I think I made that, I used Ugoma for that example, as a young mother. So what you want to do is categorize your personas into roles, okay? Then step 3B is break your epics into stories. Remember, I told you guys what epics are. Okay, so now when you've identified your epics, what you want to do is break them down into user stories. So select an epic and break it down into a more granular form. So let me give us an example based on the case study that we've been using for a while now, which is the banking app. A sample epic could be, whose name would I use here? Gladys. Let's use Gladys. Okay, a sample epic could be, Gladys wants to be able to pay bills and transfer funds to other people or external accounts. Let me take that again. Gladys wants to be able to pay bills and transfer funds to other people or external accounts. Now, if you want to break this into user stories, what are we going to have? Do you have anybody who wants to try? Anybody who wants to try to give us a user story or two from that epic that I just mentioned? I could take it again. We said Gladys wants to be able to pay bills and transfer funds to other people or external accounts. So if we were to break this down into user stories, maybe 1 or 2, what are we going to have? Do we have anybody willing to try? Do we have answers? Okay, we have one hand raised. Yes, you go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. I think from my understanding of what you explain epics to be, if I was going to break that into two stories, since basically the 2 things that she's looking at is to pay and transfer, I think I'm going to build my user stories. One, her ability to do a transfer, and the second user story will focus on the payment aspect of it.
Thank you very much. That's very brilliant. Thank you very much for your answer. That was very correct. So yes, from our epic, what we got now is, as a user, I want to be able to do what? To pay bills. I think I saw a few other answers in the chat box. Francis, that's also a very correct answer. Said Gladys wants to be able to pay bills, and she also wants to be able to do what? To transfer response. So we've gotten to user stories now from this epic. As a user, I want to pay bills. As a user, I want to make person-to-person transfers. Okay, we got that from what? The epic. All right, so the next thing you want to do, we've talked about step 2, which is to convert the user persona goals into epics. Step 3A, to categorize your persona. Step 3B, to break your epics into user stories. Now, the next thing is step 4, which is refine the stories. So what you want to do here is review your user stories and refine them. Ask yourself questions. Are they relevant? Are they feasible? Can we actually do this? Can this be implemented? Can the what is what the person wants. Can the what be translated into a feature? Because honestly, just to confirm, can you guys hear me? Virtually says she cannot hear anything. Can you guys hear me? Could give a thumbs up or something. Okay. So Rachel, it's probably from your end. Check your network connection. So I was saying that you need to ask yourselves as UX designers, because honestly, it's not everything. The truth is, it's not everything that a user points out that can be fixed, whether we like it or not. That's the truth. Okay, so when you've gotten your user stories, what you want to do is to ask yourself, are these relevant? Can these actually be translated into a feature? What this person wants to do? Is it feasible? Okay. So these are the steps in writing a user story or good user stories. So please take note of all of these that were mentioned in class today. So the next thing now is, I wrote out a few user story examples. The first one we have here is the one in brackets. Remember we talked about the role. We talked about the role, the action, and what the benefits or the outcome. So those are the ones that are in brackets. So the first one we have here is, as a customer, that's a role. As a customer, I want to, this is the action now. I want a shopping cart feature so that I can easily purchase items online. User goal and results. Thank you very much, Stephen. So as a customer, I want a shopping cart feature so that I can easily do what? Purchase items online. Now, how does that even work? Okay, a shopping cart feature allows people to buy multiple items. Okay, so it's not just I can now buy, maybe I wanted to get a full set, yes, maybe an outfit. So I now buy the trouser and I'll go and make payments. Now come back and buy the top, make payments, come back, buy the shoe. So when I have a shopping cart feature, I cannot buy as many as I can, pick this one, add it to my shopping cart, pick another one, add it to my shopping cart. And then when I am done, I can now proceed to make payments. So that's that for the first user story. The second one we have here is, as a manager, I want to generate a report. I want to generate a report so that I can understand which department needs more resources. Number 3, as a customer, I want to receive an SMS when the item has arrived so that I can go pick it up right away. So like I said, all of these user stories are unique. And they are for each product or for each product ideas or whatever product they're working at a particular time. So this third one could be, what's it called? Maybe a web view application. When your goods have arrived, you can get a notification, so you can go pick them up. Now, the fourth one here is, as an online gamer, I want to have a multiplayer option so that I can play online with friends. Okay, you can invite friends to play with you. Now, the last thing we have here is, as an e-commerce shopper, I want to filter my searches rather, so I can find products easily, right? So these are examples of user stories, and I hope that with what I've been taught in class today, if you're being asked to write user stories, from whatever information you've gotten from your user research so far, from these two different design processes, you can actually come up with meaningful user stories. That's why I said to pay attention to the results that you got from your user interviews. Okay, it's not just enough to write out questions, the answers. Okay, this is very, very important. So with that, we're going to move into Figma, where I'm going to be showing you guys how to design product interfaces using user stories. But before we get into Figma, there are a few things that I want to address. Okay, a few things that I have noticed so far that I want us to talk about. So the first thing here is I want to address the fact that I need you all to know that each stage is very important. Okay, that's when you need to put in your efforts in order to move from a stage to another. Don't be left behind, because it's only the people that get to stage 8 that are able to get on a team and work on a project. If not, you're going to be left behind. So you have to do everything you can to go from stage 1 down to stage 8. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. That's only when you're going to be put on a team and you're going to work on a project before the end of KodeCamp. And then another important thing that I need you to know is that if you do not meet up with the cutoff mark the first time, when a task is being given, you have the cutoff proportional task, you have the cutoff point of 75%. If you do not meet up 75% the first time, and you're being given a second chance, no matter how hard you try, even if you now do better than the person that scored the highest, you're not going to score anything more than 75%. You're not going to move beyond that point. So that's why it's very important that you put in all your efforts to pass the cutoff mark on first trial. Because when you go at it again, okay, after the review session, you're given a second chance, you go at it again, you said, okay, I am at mail, at pay, I have submitted my work, I've done what you asked me to do, I've done the corrections. You're not going to get anything more than 75%. So I thought to make that clear. So you have to do everything, all what you have to do, because I feel like most people rush off to submit because of what the added 10 marks that is not even frequent. Somebody said I was rushing to submit fast, so I did not complete the assignment. How would you submit something that is not completed? Like the page was totally blank, so you submitted a link to a blank page just because you wanted to meet the time. That doesn't make sense. So what you want to do is take your time to work on a particular task that's being given. Put in all your energy. Okay, ask questions. I know a few people here that reach out and ask questions. Okay, this is what I did. Can you just go through it? I'm not saying you should come to my DM, please, but ask your questions on the Discord channel, right? Ask people to review if need be, okay? Or if you have, that's where you need to, there's nobody that's an island here. The essence is that I think this guy, I've forgotten his name. Is it Joshua? I think his surname starts with O. I've seen his replies when he's trying to, help people answer questions. That's very, very nice. Thumbs up for that. Okay. So what you want to do is make friends. I'm not saying it should be anybody's bestie, but make friends. Okay. Interact with your colleagues. If you know that you have anybody here that that the person knows this thing more than you do, right? Reach out to them. Okay, reach out to them and ask questions. Or maybe ask them to review your stuff. Don't go and get expo. I will know. That's how two people submitted the same thing. I actually knew. And if you use ChatGPT, I will know too. That's another thing I wanted to point out. The use of AI to write out your answer. I know a lot of people that use AI to write out their user research process. Everything from beginning to the end. I will know, because most of them they're too good to be true. So please stop using ChatGPT to write out, to get your answers. Okay. You can maybe use what's it called, Grammarly. You want your sentences to make sense, or your paragraph, or wherever you're writing, to check out to check out maybe spelling errors and all of that. But using AI to just copy everything and paste, you're doing yourself, because at the end of the day, when you're working in a team, you find out that you don't know anything. All right, so those are the few things I wanted to point out. And also, it has come to our notice that for the tax about the public transportation application that was given out, a lot of people are still, I think I mentioned that this is not Uber, it's not Bolt. We're talking about public transportation. You know how people go to the park, right? I know maybe a lot of people are so rich on this call, so maybe you take private jets, or you cannot really relate to what us, the low profile citizens of Nigeria, go through, right? Public transport, you go to the park, you have to where drivers, you know that drivers, they buy tickets. Okay, drivers actually buy tickets before they actually make any take any routes or make any, what's it called, how do I even put this, or start a journey, right? They actually buy tickets. And also most people get schedule information, so they know that, oh, if you can even call them, right, and say, and they tell you something like Lagos bus leaves at so time on Monday, right? If you're going to Uyo, the cab or the bus or the driver leaves at 4 p.m. Okay, the drivers also plan their routes. I can decide that I want to take this particular route. Do you understand? That's why most people get to you now get into trouble with the driver, because they did not tell you the route that they are taking, and that's what you wanted to stop. So these are like a few things that make up this public transportation application. It is not Uber. Okay, it's not a private kind of transportation. This is public transportation that we're talking about. So you may need to refine or go back and check whatever submissions you made. And also, with what I have explained so far, you know what to do and how to do it better. Because you're still going to continue this until you're working on a different project. For this learning process, right? This is the case study that you're going to be working on. Okay, whenever tasks are being given out. So you need to understand the concept of this project idea, the public transportation application. So these are the few things I wanted to point out. So please take note of these things. And like I said, the discussion is always open for questions. Don't be lacking behind in silence and nobody knows. And also for people that are carrying people along, God bless you guys. If you feel like maybe your peer, because I see like a lot of peers, people that had peers or were paired with somebody at the beginning of this training, they are still together. Okay. I remember one of the learners here told me that, oh, she scored higher than her peer. I'm like, okay, so you guys are still talking. That actually makes sense. So if you feel like your peer is lacking behind, be the shoulder that this person can lean on and, you know, like step on to get to the next stage. So if you feel like any of your friends or your colleagues are lacking behind, do well and try your best to help them. I'm not saying you should give them expo, don't spoon feed them, but tell them the necessary things that they have to do in order to get to the next stage. Thank you. So with that being said, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and share my Figma board. So we're going to get started. Okay, I'm seeing a question in the chat box. Patience, you're asking, can I use Miro? What exactly would you want to use Miro for? You can unmute and tell us, or you can use the chat session. What do you want to use the Miro board for? Okay, so like I said, we're going to dive right into Figma for the design. Anything design is done on Figma. If you're being asked to use what's it called? If you're asked to use Miro, we're going to let you know. But anything design, it is Figma. But like I said, if you want you to use Miro for a design, a particular type of design, we're going to let you know. Okay. So I'm just going to get right into it because we barely have time. So we're going to be working with two user stories here. The first thing is we're still looking at the banking app. Let me just write it down here so that we do not go out of course. I'm just going to get my frame and use my text tool to write this out. Let's see, 40 to make it bigger. That's actually too small. A banking app. Tab number 1 to be, as a user, I want to be able to sign up or log in. So let's just use to, because we barely have time and our time is fast spent. We can also have as a user, I want to be able to see my past transactions. Okay, so that's why I made mention that user stories, right? Companies, right? I don't know if we have, I mean, this is a beginner class, but as you go further into the field, you're going to realize that a few people who are project managers, I think I know a few project managers here. We have Hugh Famous. Yes, she did in the last cohort, she did product management. So for a few product managers, the ones that understand what we call design sprints. Okay, so they know that in each sprint, a designer is being assigned a particular user story to implement. So we can decide that for this week, we're going to be working on this particular flow. Okay, that a user should be able to do this on an application or website, depending on whatever you guys are working on. So you can have this assigned to a designer as a task. Like the first one we have, as a user, I want to be able to sign up or log in. So what you want to do as a UI UX designer is what? Create a page that allows the user to be able, it could give them options to either sign up or log in. That's the essence. That's why we also said that epics are what's the broader stories that you can actually break down into user stories. Now, epics cannot be used in a design sprint. If you want to know what sprints are, go and do your research. It's what we call sprints. So when people are working on sprints, you're like, so we're giving out short tasks that can be implemented within a short time. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. So now we have these two user stories and we're going to be implementing them today. The first thing we have is, as a user, I want to be able to sign up or log in. So let's dive right into it. Okay, so somebody is asking me to spell out something. Okay, I think he deleted that. Okay, so like I said, Tibel, you're asking me to spell out what, please? This sprint. S-P-R-I-N-T. Sprint. You know how you have football or field sprint in sports? Sprint. Okay. You can do your research about that. Teams work in sprints. Design teams. So the first thing you want to do is get your frame. I'm going to use iPhone 13 mini. And as always, I like to, title my frames. So I'm just going to call these splash screen. Okay, so this is most likely the first screen that a user sees when he or she opens up an application. So what's this going to look like? Remember we said as a user, I want to be able to sign up or log in. So I want ideas. How do we implement this? Let's talk. We barely have time. I need this class to be very interactive so that we can carry everybody along and everybody knows what we're doing so that you do not get left behind. So I need answers. On this screen, remember we said the first user story is what? As a user, I want to be able to sign up or log in. So what exactly are we going to have on this screen in order to implement that? Create a login and sign up button. Okay.
Sign up page.
Sign up page. But this is actually what's it called? We have two things here: sign up or login. Sign up or login. So what if I want to log in and I don't want to sign up?
Yeah, we have both on the same page. So one can be the main button can be sign up or login. Then you can have another button for sign up or login as well, or just something else. Say if you have sign up on top, then underneath you can say you already signed up, already have an account and login link or something like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's brilliant. But please, the next time you want to talk, make sure to raise your hand before doing that. Thank you very much. Iechi, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. I feel this probably might be a landing page. I might be wrong, but that has buttons, two buttons, the primary, and they will have a primary button and a secondary button. So we could have a primary button that is sign up, and the secondary button will be to log in.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Iechi. Patience, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon. Most times when I log into a new application, what I normally see is a sign-up form which gives you information that you have to fill about yourself. And then on top there, you have a login. So as you're already a user, so you don't need to fill in the form. So you just log in. And when you click on that, it will just pop up where you have your username and password. But the form itself will be there for people that want to sign up.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that answer. Okay, I'm seeing a few other answers here. Francis says a secondary and primary button. That's beautiful. We also have Aniwayo saying primary button for sign up, secondary button for login. Nice, beautiful. Okay, so like I said, you need to look at this again because whether we like it or not, very soon we're going to be done with KodeCamp. Okay, come out in flying colors, get your certificate, and then you're going to get into the real world where you're going to be working on real life projects. So if a product manager assigns you this task and tells you to be able to sign up or log in, as a user, I want to be able to sign up or log in, what are you going to do? It may necessarily not be a form because, like you said, this is a splash screen. A splash screen. If you want to know what a splash screen is, go and do your research. Like I said, everything will not be taught in class in one day. So I got a few answers. So I know that, okay, we know that we're going to have a primary and secondary button here. So where do we get started? I like to make use of illustrations. So people make use of images too. So I'm just going to get an illustration that would probably, reflects what I want to have here, what we're working with. And I get my illustrations from a website called StorySets. Okay. And also I like to use the color blue. I mean, you can suggest whatever other colors. Sorry, this guy is so big. Let me reduce it. Reduce that. Okay, so that's better. So, like I said, I want to use blue for this. Oh, Linda is saying, Mayor told you guys about the splash screen. Okay, that's better. So I'm just going to put an illustration that, remember we're talking about a banking application here. So you can see, let me zoom in so you can see how my illustration is. You can see this. Okay. So now I'm going to just have, what's it called? I'm going to have a text. Remember that I said that this is a splash screen. So we're not necessarily going to design a sign-up form because this is a splash screen. So what I want to put here is what? Maybe a text that says, let's get started. So yeah, let me just put that here. Can I have font recommendations? Anyone? What fonts should we use? Does anybody have anything in mind? I'll just go ahead and use anything. Montserrat. That was my favorite before another font stole my heart away. Okay, so we're going to go with the first answer. Okay, now Poppins. They're ruling. I'm so sorry, Olakulia. I'm going to go with Poppins. Majority carries the votes or wins the votes. So we're going to go with Poppins. We'll have here, I'm going to use 24 because that's like an appropriate size, appropriate text size for the title of we're designing for a mobile application. So we're going to use get started, and instead of regular, because this is a title, we're going to use semi-bold. And what I want to do is align that to the center. And it's what we call plugins, right? So let me just put this 64. It's what we call plugins. I think I mentioned it. And I mentioned that you can get your plugins from Figma community. So there's a plugin for what we call placeholders, text placeholders. And I don't really recommend it because I see a lot of people putting out designs and then they're having placeholders on their text. The people viewing these things, right? I've even seen a few applications that are live that are using placeholders, and that's very, very wrong. Okay, people should have an understanding of what the application is doing, right? But for the sake of today's class, because we don't have time, it's almost 4 p.m. We're going to make use of placeholders, but I'm not advising you to. Okay, except you do not have the content at the time, then you can make use of placeholders. So for the sake of these text placeholders, we're going to make use of what we call lorem ipsum, right? So I'm just going to get that from my saved plugins. You can see that I have a lot of plugins that I saved from the Figma community. So we're looking forward lorem ipsum. Where is it? Okay, this is it. When you click on this, it loads and you should have a pop-up. Yes. So you can see here that this pop-up is saying select some text layer. So I'm going to get my text and click on this. I'll make sure to change this to 16. Make this regular because, like I said, contrast. Okay. It's also what we call text hierarchy. You cannot have your title and then the body text to be bold at the same time. Okay. The body text has to be regular and it has to be smaller. So you're writing your text out in matter of importance, right? So you're going to decide if you want this to be a sentence or a few words, a paragraph, or a few characters. So I want this to be a sentence, and I want it to be 2 sentences. I mean, you can change it to 5 or 3 or whatever. Maybe let's use 3. I hope it's not too long. So when that is done, what you want to do is generate. You can see that this has generated this guy for me. So I'm just going to drag this into place. And also we talked about alignments. These are a few things that you need to note. Now, does this thing look fine like this? Left align. Let me leave it like this and click out. Like I said, we're doing this together. And somebody said bad rag. Beautiful. Nice. Okay, I'm getting a lot of no's. So what is the preferred alignment? What's the preferred alignment? I don't want to give you options. You might easily know the right one to pick. So what's the right alignment? Center. Thank you very much, Hugh Famous. So we're going to go with center alignment, and that you're going to get that from here. You have text align center, text align left. This is at left. We're going to take it to center. And I do not like that this is black. So I'm going to go for a darker gray. Yes, because like I said, this is a body text. Alignment. Thank you very much for your answers. We're going to take this. Let's make this maybe 8. Okay, so we have get started. Now, somebody mentioned of what's it called? Secondary primary button, and the person said that the sign up should be what? The sign up should be, what's it called? The sign up should be the primary button, right? And then the secondary button should be what? The login. So we're just going to, for the sake of today's class, I'm going to be using normal rectangle because this is not how I like to create my buttons on a normal day. But since we have not gone into that, I'm just going to use a rectangle to do this. So this is our button. Remember we said that what we're using blue. Okay. So we're going to just pick the color from, use a color picker to pick the color from this man's shirt. We have our primary color. And I'm going to add corner radius of 10. Because I do not like my buttons to have a lot of corner radius. I don't really like rounded buttons. So we're going to have this, and then we're going to add a text that says what? Sign up. Or maybe let's use create account, because people tend to confuse that. Create account and sign up, they are basically the same thing. So we're going to use semi-bold, okay, so that the button text can be pronounced. So we have our button, and what I'm going to do is group this together. Then I'll show you a better way of creating buttons in the next class. We're going to dive into UI better. But for today, let's make use of this. And then we have our primary button. Let's check the alignments. And then I'm going to copy this. And the secondary button. So let me get answers. The secondary button is going to look exactly like the primary button. What's the difference between the both of them? Or how are we going to design our secondary button? Answers, please. I'm getting a lot of no in the comment section. Okay, but how is it going to look like? How exactly is it going to look like? Okay, so Olakunle is saying I should make the background white with a blue text. And Khalid is saying the second should have no fill, but an outline. Okay, thank you very much, Khalid and Olakunle. Sorry about that. So we're going to go with Khalid and Olakunle. Remove the blue filling, no color. Okay, so yes, I'm just going to do that because we said that what user story is what users should be able to sign up or log in. So what we're going to do is take out the, let me ungroup this or select this so that I know exactly what to do. So yes, we're going to add a stroke to this guy. We're going to select this color. I'm assuming this is our blue color. Just to be clear, this is our blue color. Okay, yes. 47B double F. That's our primary color. So the stroke is going to carry that same color and make it 2 so it will have more words. And we're going to take out the fill. So this guy is white, and we said we're making use of what? The primary color. So this is what it is. Question is authentic, it said different fonts. No, we cannot use different fonts. Remember, I mentioned that you should limit the number of fonts. I think I mentioned that when we're talking about typography. Limit the number of fonts you're making use of on a project. I think the majority, right, or like the highest you can go for is 2. Because I've seen a lot of people use a different font or a different typeface for the title text, the headlines for websites, and then they use a different and the copies. So you cannot have like different, maybe let's say we're using Montserrat here, and then you automatically wants to now use, okay, what are we even using here? We were supposed to use Poppins. I even forgot. Let me correct that. Supposed to use Poppins. So instead of using Poppins, you now use an entire different, you can come and use a scripted font here. That doesn't make any sense. So you have to limit the number of fonts that you make use of, right? When you're working on a project. Okay, so we've gotten this now. So this is going to be what? Login. And we're going to align it to this because it doesn't look aligned to the rectangle. Yes, it looks better now. Do the same thing here. Make sure it is aligned to this rectangle. Aligned horizontally. So we have this. Remember, we're presenting them with an option to either create an account to sign up or to do what? To log in. This looks very fine. Okay, so we've done the first one. Okay, we've completed the first task. So the next page now, the next one, what's the next user story here? As a user, I want to be able to see my past transactions. So what's that going to look like? That's what we're going to be designing now. So I could just, instead of getting another screen, just duplicate this. Duplicate this and delete all of these guys. So as before, I need answers. What is screen going to contain, please? It could be the home page. What's this screen going to contain? Answers, anyone? Transaction history, yes. Thank you very much, Josephine Joseph. That's very brilliant. So we're going to have transaction history. What else? If we're having that on the home page, I think there are a lot of home page. Account balance, your Kumuni, God, I beg. I cannot pronounce your name, but that's a nice one. Okay. So I'm going to go with those 2 answers because they're correct. So the first thing we want to have is what I might want to see my account balance first before proceeding to see my transaction history. But how are we going to do that? How are we going to craft that? What's the first thing? What's the first thing I'm going to put on this page? What's the first thing? Do we have any answers? If not, just go ahead and start designing because we barely have time. What's the first thing you see when you come? You just get to see your account balance. There's no form of greeting. Welcome notes like, hi, Shola. Brilliant, brilliant, Balogun, kindly. Your name, welcome. Okay, right. So I'm going to use the circle. This is too big, so I'm going to reduce this to maybe 50. And I want my margin to be, I think I taught you guys the margin when working with grid. I want my margin to be 16. Okay, so I start to put an image here. I'm just going to pick a random image. Okay. Let me see what I have here. Sorry about that. Looking for an image that has, okay, yes. So let's give for a portrait image. So we have this, and we're going to have, somebody said welcome back. So we're going to have welcome back. Going to have welcome back, and I'll just get this like this regular. It's maybe 16 and welcome back. Whose name will I use here now? I need a male name. Welcome back, Balogun. Balogun Kainde. How do you spell that your name again? K-E. Okay. Kainde. Okay, so what we want to do is align, make sure that this text is aligned to the left together, and it has at least a number of spacings in between them. And then we're going to group that and make sure that it is aligned, okay? It's aligned vertically to the center of the circle that we have here, okay? So we have this, and then what else? Can we have the logo of the bank? We don't have logo, and except you give us one. Okay, just so that we can finish on time. We can also have a notification icon by the side. Okay, so that people can easily get notifications. So we're just going to go to our Iconify plugin and get a notification icon. Looking for a fine one that's a little bit rounded. I think I like this one. So we have the notification, right? Maybe we should just use the primary color. So we said we're using what as our margin, 16. So we're just going to shift this and make sure that it is, let's group these people, that it is aligned to these guys too, vertically. Yes. So what's the next thing? You guys have used banking applications. So I need options. I need answers. So I'm just going to get a rectangle and I'm going to do this. Who knows what I'm trying to implement here? I just put a rectangle there. What are we trying to implement there? Count balance. Okay. Okay, account balance, account details. Nobody has actually said the exact thing, Sha. But keep it coming. For the rectangle, I mean, it cannot be the name now, Khalid. So we're going to have corner radius of maybe 20. And then we're going to proceed to, we don't want it to have this fill. I think you're going to get your answers pretty soon. Let me shift this board to this side. You get the expo pretty soon. So card details, not necessarily, but yes, this is like one of the cards. Card details. Thank you very much. So I want to use a gradient, what we call linear for this guy. So what I'm going to do is just slide this. Just slide this. Okay. So for the first color, you can see where I'm actually where my cursor is. Let me zoom in. We're going to use the, should we use the primary color? Let's use the primary color then. Okay. And then for this one, we can start to use another color. What color would that be? What color would that be? Let's see. This, and then maybe make this 70. Yes, I think this looks fine. So we'll have that. So what do these cards look like? So first of all, since we want to make this user friendly, we're going to do, you can have your cards here. I make this maybe semi-bold. Bring this guy down a bit. So make sure that it's aligned. 16 is the margin, so that it's aligned to wherever we had them before. So the alignment from here to here, make this maybe 16, make the margin 16, like we talked about. So we can reduce this to the height. I mean, especially if this person has more than one card. Now, these are meant to reduce this. So we can now do this, can do this. And we don't want this thing coming out like this. So what we want to do is click on this. Okay, you've noticed that if you look at what's it called? The left side of my board, you can see that this rectangle 9 is outside the frame, the home page frame. That's why it's showing out like this. So what I want to do is bring it into the frame. Then we have this. And this is for if the person has, 2 different cards registered to this bank. Let me delete that. Let's work on this first. So what do we have on this kind of cards? We don't have much time. So I'm just going to reduce this to 20. I have this. Let's make it a little bit transparent. We usually see this in, what's it called? In MasterCards. So I'm just going to group this, shift it up a bit, and then we're going to have MasterCard text here. Has to be. So we can now decide that we want maybe the distance from this guy to be 16. So remember I told you guys how to check your distance, but just click and holding on to your alt. This makes sense. So we have MasterCard, and then we have I decide to have the balance on this other end. Now what's the distance here? This 4. So we can now take these guys off. Especially if you want to work with 16. Or maybe 16 too much. 16 is fine. So we're going to Like this guy here. And then we can have this to be the account balance, Nigerian, what's it called? So how much do we want to have in this account? Let's prophesying into my life. So we can have 200,000, 100K. If people don't like me, Jesus. 200 billion. That now you're talking, Ayo. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this. And we're going to make this maybe medium or regular. Call this balance. Sorry about that. Okay. So I want to spread that out a bit. Have balance and then what's it called? We're just designing from the top of our heads. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just add the card number. Thank you very much, Tiben. That was very smart. So we're going to do asterisk, 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 asterisk. Balogun is saying there should be an eye icon. You want to hide your balance. So yes, there's always that option. Okay, so this is just what we're going to have for now. Okay, for the sake of this class, we don't have time. We're running out of time. So what I said we're going to do is what duplicate this. I think I mentioned that. Let's make it 24. Maybe 16. So bring this inside. Okay. It's okay, fine already. Okay, so what's the next thing now? We can have options. Remember that when we're talking about this banking app, we said something about I think we're using whose name were we using that time? Gladys. Yes. Gladys wants to be able to do what? To sorry, let me add a little bit of elevation to this guy. And a little bit of effects, drop shadow effects. You can see this. So let's just play around. If we make the plot 10, make this maybe 8. So you can just have that feel. Okay. You can see it here. So let me just do this because there's no time to start doing the same thing for that. Okay. So we talked about words. Let's just add a few other features. Maybe use 20 here, maybe 16 or 18. So we can decide that this is for, remember we said 16, and we can say this is for top up. And say this is for top up to make sure to align this. So I want to shift this guy. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So we can say this is for top up. Somebody says to pay bills. Okay, what other one? We can have pay bills. Transfer. Thank you very much, Annie. So you have to be checking your what's it called? Airtime and data is inside top up, I think. Checking your alignments as you go. So for this one now, we can, I don't know, play around with colors. Reduce this opacity to be maybe 30 or 20. And then we want to go to our iconifier and get what's it called? Maybe a plus sign. So we're going to add this. Let me take this guy out. Check for your alignment. You can use the primary color for that. Okay. Make sure it's aligned. Then for paying bills, let's see if we're going to have pay. Okay, so we have wallets here. So we can use this wallet icon. Paying bills. And lastly, transfer. Transfer. We're definitely going to see, not going to see an account for transfer, so we can use send. Yes, beautiful. It makes no sense. Okay, so we have these guys now. So we have this for, like I said, we're just playing around with colors, so we can go for this purple. Reduce it to maybe 15. Then always make sure to check your alignment, both vertically and horizontally. Then we had for transfer. I don't know what color to use for this one. Let's just pick any color that matches. Color that goes. Okay, so we have this. Now the next thing we want to do, okay, this looks fine. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is have what? Somebody mentioned, what's it called? We can decide that we want this to be in a section, right? So let's just, 3, 4, 3 should give us exactly, like this, then make it, let me see. So that this can be white. F is the color code for white. So we're going to add a little bit of elevation to that. Make the button. That's too much. Okay. Let's keep it simple. So we can just decide that we want this, guys, to be grouped and to be placed. And this, so we're going to bring those to the front. So you can see that this is to be. They're looking to be. So we might have to reduce this a little bit. Reduce this so that they fit into the rectangle we just placed them. They're not looking too off. checking my alignment again. Sorry that I have to rush. I barely have time. So make sure to check your alignments. So we have this now. Okay, now to align this. Yes, that makes sense. So I'm going to group all of them and take it up. So the next thing we want to do is have maybe, what's it called? The transaction history. Yes, somebody mentioned that. So what's that going to look like? To have let me just copy this. Well, our margin is what, 16. So for this one now, we're going to call it this 24. Last transactions. I hope we're still following. And then there should be an option to see all, right? So the user should be able to, this is the home page, so you cannot put all the information here. Okay, but this is usually smaller. So we can have see all. You can even decide to have what's it called? An icon. An icon, maybe a right arrow. A right arrow. Okay. So we're just going to use this. And then the last transactions we're going to have maybe 30. That's too small. So we can now have something like what you bought, right? We can have food. Okay. Let's make that 16. Let's be a little bit big. And then we can have what? The dates that you got the food, right? I think that's what let's stop. That's what transaction history is all about, right? So we can have August 10th. You can have the time as 9:30, August 10th. For this one now, you're going to align this, like I said. You can decide to add an icon.
All right then, thank you. So someone is asking about how to download plugins. We'd share a video turning out so you can easily see how to do it. And then concerning the task, we'll share the details channel. So Figma is currently having network challenges, and time is way gone. We stayed our So we'll drop the details of the task on the channel. So just stay tuned. And don't forget you still have the previous non-promotional task. Because it's non-promotional doesn't mean that, as I shared on the channel earlier, the task is for you to learn all these things we're teaching you. So we'll drop details of the task, of this task that Favor has given you today. We'll drop the details on the channel and let you know when it's supposed to be. So we'll meet on Wednesday next month for the next class. And any other and every other thing done on the Discord channel. Thank you very much, everyone.